This episode is brought to you by the Commander Fun Police. The Commander Fun Police. You play how we say.
You better not get in trouble.
Hi, I'm Gramps.
Hi, I'm Chili Bin.
And generally on Casual Compliance, we talk about the Commander format of Magic the Gathering, using banned cards to say, oh, hey, you know what? This you probably shouldn't play because it's not going to be fun in a casual game. Last time on Commander format panel. Last time on Casual Compliance Nights.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's the format.
Last time on Casual Compliance Nights, we were talking about the CFP, talking about the clusterfuckery that happened when 3 very bad cards got banned. 3 very bad cards got banned, and 1 kind of copped it on the side. Nah, dude.
No.
Nah, dude.
Not
You're right. No, Nadu's fine. It's Dockside that should have gone, and then Mana Cry or whatever they call it now, and that other one that no one cares about. Mate, that's worth $0. No one cares.
Yeah.
Take the stock. Take the stock. So yeah, what we did, we had a bit of a chat about bans, the vitriol online, and how everyone had just a massive suki la la about how their cards are worth nothing anymore, and they have to take it out of their decks. Boo hoo. It has to go on my bulk now.
Oh no.
And then we spoke about the unfortunate ending of the RC and the commencement of the console free play.
Commander format panel.
The Commander format panel CFP.
You have to stop making that joke. That joke is for like 6 people.
Yeah, exactly. And he watches our videos, so like, there you go. And we teased at the end of it that we would have a friend of ours on this episode coming up of Casual Compliance Nights. You can see it in the title. We'd like to welcome a quick transition. Everyone meet Krim. Is Krim on the panel?
I don't
Hey
think
Tom,
so.
is Krim on the panel? Krim's not on the panel. Who's on the panel?
We can't do this.
There you go, that works.
Okay.
It's Rebel. No, we have Tom from AttackOnCardboard joining us today. He is going to answer some of our questions, talk about Commander as a whole. He's got his very strong opinions, and by the end of the show, we'll probably ban Sol Ring.
Yeah. Anyway, here's that. Star wipe. Welcome, Tom. Attack on Cardboard.
Thank you very
to
much
the
for
show.
having me. Much appreciated.
No, thank you for coming and representing the Commander format panel.
Yep.
Whatever that means, we'll get to that. But for the sake of our audience, if they're not familiar with you, who are you and what do you do?
Yep, so I'm Tom from Attacking Cardboard. I make YouTube videos explaining the complicated rules of the game and really breaking them down so everybody can understand them, because you shouldn't need a law degree to be able to play Magic the Gathering.
No, and maybe you're the same as me. I appreciate the recent rule change directions that are going towards like making things more intuitive. Because like a lot of Magic rules eventually play out. It's like, oh, it's just the intuitive thing happens. But if you read the rules, it's really hard to work that out.
I mean, the most recent rule change, they've gone back to practically 6th edition rules.
The damage, the combat damage or something?
Yeah, so yeah, instead of doing that step before, it's now you do it all in one go.
Yeah, you just lay the damage out how you want.
So don't worry, in 15 years we're going to get damage on stack back again.
Cool. I never got to play under those rules.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it sounds bad.
Best rules ever.
I don't know if these mics are going to pick you up in the background, Gramps. We'll find out in the edit. So, for us to like get to know you and your association with Commander,
Yep.
what's your favorite Commander to play?
Right now, I'm really enjoying. I probably butcher their name, Savini, the Chrono. Oh, I can't believe I can't even remember what they are. Jeskai 2/5. They were Commander 2019 Precon.
Okay.
It's basically 2/2 prevent all damage that would be dealt to them. And when you cast a card from your graveyard, copy it. You may choose your targets. And so the whole deck is purely around the first ability, which is prevent all damage.
Yeah.
So then I play things like Earthquake, Blasphemous Axe, all the damaging spells, and then you play creatures like Boros Reckoner, Swans of draw cards when it gets dealt damage. Basically anything that when it receives damage, you can send the damage, Stuffy Doll effects.
Yeah, cool.
And then so I just build up a little pillow fort, and then I go, all right, Blasphemous Act, deal 13 damage, or...
Okay.
That one, the
fact
Chronoplasm.
check. Sorry, what is
Savine,
Savine, yeah. I think the first, like the one time we've actually played a game together, you were running
I feel like she's my, or they're my 7 deck.
Right.
Like, it, like, you know, not quite CDH, still relatively fun.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where I can decide whether to pull the trigger. And
Yeah.
if I'm board wiping, the board wipes are all damaged base.
Yeah.
So if I do board wipe,
Plenty of ways to get around it.
Yeah, I mean, my creatures are still going to be there. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm casting Farewell to make everybody's life
Oh, God.
miserable. But
I don't think I've seen a game with Farewell in a long time. Most people just agree it's a shit vibe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I posted recently on Blue Sky, if someone farewells you and they don't have a backup plan, you're legally allowed to rip up their farewell. I'll send you.
I like it. I like it. I have a Farewell. I still have yet to put it in a deck.
Yeah, there's a guy on Blue Sky right now. I'm gonna plug him because he does awesome artwork called Gramps, and he's been redoing all of the old like classic 2000 meme like Scumbag Steve, Good Guy Greg.
No, I have seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's done them as magic characters. Oh,
yes.
that's so good.
Yeah, big fan. Last little bit of getting to know you. How do you usually go about building decks? I'm curious to know what your like methodology or thought process is.
I mean, I like the I don't know the e-girl style. Like I'm different and unique. I do like to
Doing weird stuff.
I do like to do a bit of weird stuff. I mean, my journey from when I first started playing Commander and the playgroup that I used to play with has definitely shaped how I like to play Commander. Pillow Fort decks are probably my favorite deck because I don't have to interact with the rest of the table.
Right.
And that's mainly because during my early days of playing Commander or EDH back then, was the person who shouted the loudest at the table got to dictate how the politics of the game was played, and I couldn't be bothered arguing with those people.
I'm just going to be over here doing my own thing.
Yeah,
You work it out.
But do like to try and tread off the beaten path when I can. But otherwise, Pillow Fort, control decks, usually where I like to play.
Yeah, I think I definitely align with that ego wanting to be a little bit different mentality. Like I recently built a mono green vehicles deck with Galter. Which one is it? The one that gets cost reduced based on the power of your creatures. So like vehicles are good for going little creature becomes big creature, and then just get Galter out, and then it's all just like. It's like 30 vehicles on that deck, and then like a bunch of big creatures.
I'm probably going to get a bunch of support come February.
Aether Drift. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I built that intentionally because it's a bit janky to get it working right. It is kind of like my lower power deck if I need that on a game night or something like that. But that was me going. Mono green vehicles would be weird and difficult. There's like one or two actual green vehicle cards, I think.
A Seeker's Chariot comes to mind.
So there's one from New Capenna that's like a train or a dragster or something. Capenna Express.
Oh, and you also got the hedge trimmer from Duskmorn.
That's a vehicle?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a vehicle, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. I'm appreciating having someone behind the camera who can look up these cards, actually, because I cannot remember. But yeah,
I think it's called Hedge Shredder, because everyone was like, oh, Ledger Shredder.
Yeah, I do definitely have at least one of those just from opening some Duskmorn stuff, so I'll have to have a look. All right, on to the beginning of the Commander format panel.
Yep.
I think, so our last episode where we talked about sort of the events leading up to the creation of it, obviously there's a lot of contentious events and turmoil and vitriol slung about. What were you thinking or saying to folks, like as that was happening, before any of the CFP stuff happened, like, you must have been paying attention to it, I'm sure.
I mean, for me, I've been on the internet a long time. So for me, it was just like, typical internet response to anything. I mean, I've produced enough videos where I talk about the rules and people comment, oh, this is dumb, this is terrible, this is bad for the game. The amount of people who tell me these rules changes are going to ruin the game and blah, blah, blah. It's like, just loud vocal minority on the people. Obviously, the death threats side of things, totally not good. And obviously, it was something that weighed on me when I did get asked to be on the panel, and I was confirmed, and they were going to do the announcement, and they were going to put my name and my photo and where I lived in Australia, and I was like, let's just play it safe and change that.
Yeah, and keep yourself anonymous as you have for how long now?
I don't know. Like if people want to find like what I looked like. Like if I decided, oh, I'm never going to reveal myself on AttackOnCardboard, if people wanted to find what I look like, they could. I've done other ventures in the past.
Yes, but there is definitely like a clear intent with the content you produce of
and
there's a middleman there.
That's mainly because of the idea of the channel, where the channel's not about me. It's literally about the rules of the game, and I don't want to like take away from that. Like I want people to focus on the rules of the game and the game itself. Because that's what I care about, and that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned that you were approached to be on the CFP. I did actually wonder like what the process was for
literally
the panel getting decided.
I just remember waking up one morning, like 6:30, and having a DM from Gavin, and being like, "Oh," and then this is at 6:30. He was like, "Hey, can we have a phone call?"
Had you spoken much to Gavin before that?
Like I met him at the.
It's like a Thunder Junction launch event, right?
It must have been Thunder Junction. So yeah, very briefly chatted, and he was like, "Yeah, can we have a call?" And I'm like, "Okay, I'm about to board a train. Is that okay?" And he's like, "Yep." And then had a call, told me about what he was planning, putting together a team, Avenger style, and asked if I wanted to be a part of it, and I said, "Yeah, get me involved."
How much information did he give you in that sort of initial conversation about like what he had in mind? Or,
I mean, it was pretty much putting together a group. It's going to be the new commander panel. It's going to be, a large chunk of people. I'm pretty sure he said it was going to be around 20 people, and I think we've got 18 on there.
I thought it was.
And said, basically said this is the gist. We want to get together. We want to talk. We want to make sure that people on this panel are represented from all over the world and all parts of the community. So obviously, CDH is big massive thing, part of Commander now, and there are plenty of people on the panel that we know of that are hardcore CDH players and do much better talking about that format than I ever could. And then you've got the people who play pretty hardcore. Olivia, I can't pronounce her last name. Yep, she's on there. Obviously plays Commander, not at hyper competitive level, but as
it's very visible.
Yeah, visible, very traditional Commander. And then you've got a couple of people like myself and a couple of the others that are more rules focused. So you got like the entire Magic spectrum basically covered. Because obviously the way that at the very least that I operate, I always beginner mindset in mind, new player mindset. So I'm constantly thinking, okay, new player journey. How can we make sure that they're looked after when these rules come out? And then, as I said, you've got the entire Magic spectrum covered, basically.
Yeah.
So basically said, here's the situation, here's the team, here's what we want, here's what we're going to ask you to do. Do you want to be involved? And I just said, yep.
Yeah, amazing. That easy.
Because pretty much.
When it got announced, I was like, I don't remember seeing any kind of application form or anything about what was coming. And then it was just like, here's a list of like 18 people.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about the process, but at the very least, Wizards obviously have head offices or people in all sorts of countries who are a part of the scene. Like, I'm pretty sure I've introduced you guys to Australian, potentially introduced Gramps maybe?
Some email contact has happened.
But anyway, I've introduced you to our person, and I'm pretty sure there must have been a conversation that's happened there, and gone from there.
Yeah, nice. So thinking about the bands themselves, the 4 cards.
Yep.
Where do you stand?
Good. Get rid of them.
Yeah. That straight up and down.
So Savin actually came with the pre-con. Actually came with Dockside. It was the first printing of Dockside.
Oh my god!
So that's where my copy of Dockside comes from. I think one of my first pack opening shorts when I was doing pack openings on YouTube. My first Commander Masters pack was textured, jeweled, full art Lotus. So I managed to get one of those. Don't own a Mana Crypt, don't own Nadu, but I mean, I think they did the right thing. Yeah. I'm just annoyed that they say fast mana is bad for the game, but Sol Ring. Okay.
Do you want to open that door now?
We could do the Sol Ring.
Do you want to invalidate every pre-con that's ever been printed?
I mean, look, I've I personally hate Sol Ring because it's the whole Commander is a 100-card format.
Yeah.
But with Sol Ring, Command Tower, Arcane Signet, and a number of other cards, it reduces it from a 100-card format down to like a 90-card format, and it feels just a bit like, I don't know, not good. Especially when when you're playing the game, and that one person goes, all right, turn one Sol Ring, turn one Sol Ring, Arcane Signet, and then everyone else is like, all right. And then I even had recently after the bans where I had player 1 go Sol Ring, player 2 go Sol Ring, player 3 go Sol Ring, and I just play my Forest for the turn. And it was like, oh,
respectable.
Yeah. But
And you're already behind.
Yeah,
After that first turn cycle.
It's like, okay, great, you guys are 2 turns ahead of me, and here I am. And look, I get why it's never going to happen. It's never going to get banned, and I understand why these cards exist. Like, it's important to have, because let's think about it. When I first started playing Commander, or again EDH, I'm pretty sure I paid 40 Australian for my first Sol Ring.
Wow.
Because this was like at the start of Commander. So I started playing Commander literally 2008 would have been ish when I started playing. And yeah, Sol Ring was the chase card to get. It was the most affordable one to get compared to.
I just can't even
Mana Vault.
imagine.
Yeah,
I've been playing Magic for 3 years.
Yeah.
That is insane to me.
Yeah, and again, it's good that everybody has access, to all of these things, because then you can even talk about like mana bases. I hate mana bases and the pricing for you. If you want to play a 5-color commander, well, you better be ready to fork out, a bunch for your mana base, and that sucks as a new player who's just opened up like Joda, and they're like, cool, I want to play this card. I guess I can't because all my lands come into play tapped. I'm effectively playing 2 turns behind everybody else. So things like, Command Tower, Arcane Signet, I get why they exist. And I think it's good to have cards like that. Like with the bannings, it would have been nicer if they went the other way where, instead of banning, say, Jeweled Lotus or Mana Crypt, just make them more accessible. But obviously then that comes
then it changes the game.
Yeah. It's a hard lever to pull. I think obviously banning is the easiest lever to pull. But then, in future commander sets, maybe they can print a,
Just put a basic land in place.
Or, create a better Jeweled Lotus that's not going to be, however much it got up to, $150.
Yeah.
I'm not the game designer. I don't know how they're going to do that.
Yeah.
But
It's a thing that comes up a lot for us when we do episodes about cards on the ban list, and some of the ban reasons reference this idea of like ubiquity and like automatic includes, and if you were to take something like Jeweled Lotus and make it more accessible, it's a colorless artifact. It's going everywhere. And then it's like Turbo Sol Ring. Everybody's now at that same point.
Yeah.
And that changes the nature of the game itself. So, yeah, I think Jeweled Lotus in particular, makes a lot of sense. Nardu's funny. Nardu's so funny. Just the whole story of Nardu.
Yeah, I just like the fact that, we initially designed it for Commander, and then we last minute changed it because, it might have been too good, and then we released it into Modern, it destroyed the Modern format.
Yeah,
and
but we let a Pro Tour happen first.
We let an entire Pro Tour where 5 out of the 8 top decks were all Nardu.
Yeah,
and then,
the final was a Nardu mirror match, just doing the same thing.
And then we banned it in Modern, and then we banned it in format we originally designed.
It's so funny. But at the same time, I appreciate their honesty and transparency of just writing that blog post and saying this is how this happened.
Yeah.
And here's why it was a mistake. Here's what we've learned. So
I mean, as far as mistake cards go, if we look at the history of the game and how many cards are being produced, I don't think there's a lot of mistake cards. There are definitely some misses in the past, Grief. Definitely, I feel or actually the whole evoke. We're getting into another topic as well, where I hate the Modern Horizons set, so we could go into. I mean, I feel like the real big mistake cards are far and few between. So for them to put this out and been
it's 30,000 total cards you could play in Commander.
Yeah, and they're usually pretty quick to react. I mean, I was watching a video the other day on Tybalt's Trickery, which I think is the fastest banned card in the game. I think it came out I think it was 14 days. I'm pretty sure it was within 2 weeks it's banned. So they're generally pretty quick to fix a mistake.
Yeah.
But letting an entire Pro Tour happen would not do, I think.
Well, I think they put out something to say, oh, we know it's kind of a bit bad.
That's right. They said
still happened.
they didn't want to ban it because it would impact all of the deck building and preparation up to that time.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to ban it so close to a Pro Tour. But I don't know.
Probably still should have. I don't know. Anyway,
sorry, off topic.
Yeah, back to the panel. It's been, what, a couple of months now? Since it was announced?
Yeah, October,
Yeah,
I think.
It's a couple of months. What's happened with the group since then? Have you guys had meetings? Have you had chats about what you want to do?
So obviously I'm under NDA, so there's only so much I can talk about. Chats are happening every day, constant discussion about what's going on. Easiest thing to say is what's out there is basically, as much as we know, there's just a lot of chatter about what the next best steps are.
Yeah.
So I think, and to stress to everybody, once there is something worth talking about, because I think there was a big upset where initially there was something planned for, we just had a Magic event recently, Vegas. Yeah, MagicCon Vegas, there was an announcement where potentially there was going to be something shown at Vegas, and then Gavin announced, no, we're not going to do anything.
Like something to do with the panel?
With the direction, because they've announced the brackets, or they floated the idea of the bracket system.
Yes.
And it was looking like that we might get a beta of the bracket system going into Vegas, and then Gavin came out and said, there's not enough there for us to put it out into the world.
Sure.
So it's definitely a case of, because this is a massive project. If you think about just the card pool in general, and then all the play styles, the players that you're trying to accommodate for, you don't want to just release something half-baked and it be terrible, and then the vocal minority will be like, oh, this is terrible, these guys don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So once there's something concrete, it will be released into the wild. But definitely, again, lots of discussion, lots of agreements, disagreements. It's happening.
Yeah. Cool. How are the vibes within the group?
Good. Yeah. Everyone's super positive. A lot of hard work being put in by the guys. Like some of the things that people have put together and for us to discuss about. Good. Again, like the Commander panel I feel like it's in really safe hands.
Yeah. Cool.
Just with, again, it's hard to, again, not allowed to talk about what's being discussed, but there's a lot of good chatter happening there.
Off of that, is there anything about the panel that you wish more people understood better?
I think, again, it just comes back to Commander is massive, and we're trying to create we're basically trying to create a new Rule Zero system.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing right now, where...
Because it was never really any kind of codified system. It was just you should have a discussion before your games.
Yeah, I mean, it was the banned list, and that was it. So again, what we're trying to create is a system where you can sit at a table with complete strangers, and everyone's on a level playing field, and you can play a game where when you sit at the table, it's like you've all come to the racetrack and you've all agreed we're all just going to bring our regular cars. But then, you don't get into a situation where three of you have bought your regular cars and one guy's rocked up with his supercharged turbo F1 machine and then just dices you.
What is it, the public track days at the Nürburgring? You'll have people just rocking up in their Ford Focuses, and then there'll be a Lamborghini just doing laps around everyone. Yeah,
so, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to play those games where just one guy rolls everybody else. And again, a lot of people, I put a discussion up on Reddit recently asking, hey, what are your Rule Zero conversations? And I had one really interesting response where someone replied, I never have any Rule Zero conversations. I only play CDH. So if they're not playing CDH, I don't want to play with them.
Yeah, I mean, that is based, and we've spoken about this idea before, I think in some of our earlier Nights episodes of it's a low trust versus a high trust environment. Trusted versus untrusted pods. CDH, you're going in, is competitive. The goal, by definition, is to win.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about it as much. You just assume everybody's trying to do the most.
Yeah, exactly.
But in a casual social format, by definition, without that conversation, you have no trust.
Yeah.
You have no way to know, like, are we on the same field?
Well, because it's
same
the whole,
playing field?
everyone's definition of fun is different.
Exactly.
And that's what, like, you've got to try and work out.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I mean, I replied to this person, I think some of the best games I've ever had is sitting down, talking to people, and just being like, okay, let's try and balance this out. I mean, not everybody can come to a commander table with, 4 different decks suited to every, like, power level.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this new system, it will hopefully, again, just create a nice, easy playing field for everybody and give people the tools to be like, okay, my deck is an X. Is your deck an X or is it a Y? Oh, okay, there's some compatibility there. Yeah, we're going to have a good game.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about the idea of a post-game discussion? Like, just to calibrate it. Like, did we get it right?
I think post-game discussions are fine if you know you're going to play with the group again, or like again, if you're going to LGS and it's the same like meta of people, then that's always good. But I think maybe
because it's all feedback and conflict resolution essentially.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty hard. So I mean, I had one experience. So I recently come back from Japan. I went out to one of the biggest Magic shops in Tokyo. They seat 300 players, packed every night.
Wow.
They play every format. So if you imagine you go to an LGS of that size playing Commander, you're not going to very often play with the same 3 people.
Yeah.
So like post-game discussion doesn't really help there because you might not have, might not see those guys again for a month or something. Because you're playing with everybody else.
And the result of RNG, like, oh, they're over there now. I'll see them next month, maybe.
So definitely, the Commander format panel giving the tools so people can just start the conversation.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to have that conversation, hey, Commander's a casual game, play it your own way.
Yeah.
Like, again, I tell people that come onto my rules videos and say, oh, this is a stupid rule, I'm not going to play it that way. And it's like, sure. You can play casually however you want. Like, there's literally nothing stopping you.
If the 4 people at your table agree,
go,
do it.
Do what you want.
Yeah, you could play your weird silver border cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Do whatever. You just have to agree and be nice about it.
Yeah.
Is there like a good mix of discussions that you're having at the moment around like single cards versus the state of the game as a whole? Is it that kind of focus or more holistic kind of view?
So it is easy to say, like, if you think about the problem cards in the game, they're being spoken about.
Yeah.
If you think about, again, the conversations that people have when they first sit down at the table, it's being spoken about. Like, I can't think of anything where I'm like, oh, hey guys, maybe we should think about this.
Yeah.
Like, I can say I'm always thinking, again, I said at the start of the video, I'm always thinking with a new player mindset. Like, I've just bought my first pre-con, or I've got my pre-con and I've upgraded the cards. Like, how do I sit at the table and play with these people? Because if you think about it again from a new player perspective, they've bought their pre-con, they've maybe put some cool new cards in it. They've probably not seen the bracket system or the banned list or whatever the final thing that gets put out. And so that's how I'm thinking, like, how do we make sure that they're going to be looked after?
Yeah, and it's so good too because, like, especially nowadays, Commander is often people's first touch point.
Yeah.
Because so many like big content creators are getting into it. It's so prevalent. It's so visible. And you'd be like, oh, that looks like so much fun. They're clearly all having such a good time. Oh, a pre-con deck costs me, what, like 50, 60 bucks these days, Australian. It seems like such an easy entry. And it's like, oh, it's actually deeply complicated.
Yeah.
And that idea of like, maybe bracket systems help if you're, going to a game store, you've got a pre-con that you barely understand. I think that's really important.
Because that's the other interesting discussion as well. Like, how many cards is too many cards for a bracket? Like, so let's say, we've got the, we'll just call it the CDH bracket. Like, how many cards do you put into that? 10, it's quite a lot. 20, do we put 40 cards in there? If you have any one of these 40 cards, so now when I build my deck, I've got to go through this list of 40 cards.
Yeah, am I automatically bumped into a CDH
And
level?
so, like, that's a thing to consider as well. And again, it's like massive format, like what, 26,000 cards plus are in the game.
Yeah.
Only, what's the banned list at the moment for Commander, like 50 odd cards or something?
Oh, if you take into account like all the conspiracy and anti and all those other combinations,
even then, like,
it's not that many.
Yeah, compared to the massive pool of unique cards we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, like again, how do we make this easier for players to just sit down at a table, get games going, and stop the non-games from happening? I think that's the probably the biggest focus.
What do you mean by non-game?
Again, it's the Formula One guy versus the 3 regular car players.
Yeah.
Like the Formula One player, it basically CDH player versus 3 precons.
Right.
Someone playing slivers against his two best friends who are playing Lands Matters precon and Spirit Squadron precon.
Yeah.
When he introduces them to Magic.
Pretty sure Landswrath won.
Landswrath did win, but that doesn't
But you know, games that where one player is like, perfect example on MTG Arena, where it comes up with the option, did you have fun this game?
Right.
3 of the 4 players click the frowny face, but the 1 player clicks the
That's maybe we'll put that person over here in the matchmaking.
As I said, difficult task. The result that probably comes out is going to be a bunch of people that are unhappy.
Yeah.
But literally...
But also, from what I remember when this bracket system was first mentioned, it wasn't described as any kind of like hard and fast system. It was like, here's a set of tools
again,
that you can use.
Commander is a casual format.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. And as far as like sanctioned events goes, they're not really... I don't know, like how you don't really sanction Commander events. Like you just say, you know, you just rock up, play your Commander deck, and away you go.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. We'll see, I guess, whenever we find out what brackets are.
Or if we're even doing that.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe looking forward a bit, or more broadly, where do you think the health of Commander is at the moment? Like state of the game as it exists as a whole. Obviously, it's very popular, but like, is that a good thing?
So it's definitely, I think Commander is in a pretty good spot for the newer players. I think for maybe the more seasoned players, there's a lot of stuff coming out. It feels very overwhelming
Just in terms
to
of
try
numbers of sets.
Sets, products, the secret lair stuff. It's just a lot of stuff coming out.
50% of its universe is beyond.
That's a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
But that's great for getting new, what's happening is great for getting new players into the game. And as I always tell people, at the end of the day, new players joining the game is a net positive for literally everybody.
Yeah.
It's good for the LGSs because more players are coming in and playing events. If more events are running, that's more support for the LGS. That means more tournaments and competitions that are happening, more players to play against. It's just overall a net good to have more people playing the game. But again, just as someone who's come from the time where we would have our 4 sets a year, we would have a From the Vaults set, maybe, if we were lucky, and we might have a versus deck, like Slithers versus Goblins or whatever.
The dual decks?
The dual decks, if we were lucky.
Yeah.
And then we come to a bit where it's literally every 2.5 months, something's releasing.
Something's coming out,
You know, like, if we just look at the year ahead, we've got the remaster set, actual set, probably have a supplementary set between it, like a double masters or a Commander Masters. Then we've got the Marvel stuff that's happening, and then on top of that, we'll have all the secret layers and stuff around that. And then we go back into our like traditional Magic sets, and it's just
there's a lot
already. That's
I've definitely stopped buying as many boxes because it continues to be financially irresponsible. But there's also like this stuff coming out that looks good, and I want to get some. So like, I've definitely leant more into like buying singles to be a little bit more good about it.
Always buy singles.
But I love a bundle. I like just get some full art lands, a few booster packs, get a nice little spin down. But I mean, get that dopamine.
In terms of like the gameplay as well, I think the quality of the Commander stuff that's been released over the last couple of years has been fantastic. I think ever since...
precons have been pushed for like 2 years.
Lost Caverns of Ixalan, I think, was like the bit where it's like, this is good because that's where we got Pantlaza, the vampires, and that was like amazing. And then we got, I mean, even just before that, the Return to Eldraine with the enchantment deck and the fairy deck. I think the enchantment deck was pretty stacked. And then we move into Murders at Karlov Manor with the Surveil deck.
Just
and
so many keywords.
Like I mean, precons are amazing compared to when I first started picking up the precons. So yeah, like there's that quality of the cards being excellent. As far as gameplay goes, I mean, it's hard to make a comment on that because I don't play CDH. I just play casually. So that all just comes back to, is everybody having a good time and enjoying the game?
Yeah, for sure.
My only grief, I think, with CDH at the moment is I hate Thassa's Oracle.
Right, yeah.
Because it just, again, it's one of those, okay, I'm playing CDH, I'm playing blue. I've got to put that card in there.
But that's to that idea of like it being competitive and untrusted generally. Like, you just assume if they're playing blue, it's in there.
Yeah,
like,
but again,
because why wouldn't you? It's an auto include because you're trying to win as fast as possible.
Yeah, but one of those, like, I just feel like with that, it's just one of those, just like 2-card combo, like I win. Like it just feels really miserable. It's obviously like a lot harder to stop because it's a triggered ability and not just something that you can just remove from play. Like it doesn't matter that you remove the Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah,
the trigger goes on the stack and then it's done.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a CDH player. I don't know. That's just
I feel like if you were to try and ban Thassa's Oracle, a whole bunch of people get real mad real quick.
Which is why when if it gets brought up in the Commander Font panel, I'm just gonna be like, you guys have got this one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit on the sidelines and
I
watch.
don't actually mind.
Yeah.
What about the how do you, if you have to describe the culture of Commander?
Yeah.
What sort of words do you use? How do you talk about it?
So I love going back to when I was running events at Fortress and doing the new player introductions, like the drafts and Commander. It's just very welcoming.
Yeah.
Like new player rocks up. If they, even if they're literally brand new, they maybe learnt the game on Arena and they've rocked up just to see what an event's like. Someone's going to invite them to play. They're going to say, I don't have any cards with me. And someone's going to go, don't worry. Here's literally a select, what do you want to play? Here's a selection of decks. Come sit down and play with us.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably my biggest, makes me feel all good inside. Is just anyone can come in and play. And then the community at large, very welcoming, very kind to new players. Like one of my colleagues at work will always say, I'm probably going to ask questions, and everyone's like, don't worry about it. Ask away.
We've got the time. Yeah.
Like, literally, because that's a scary thing for a new player. And again, I don't think Commander is the best thing for a new player because you've got 100-card deck that maybe you've learned, but then you've got 300-card decks that you've got to try and learn and work out. Commander's terrible for new players. Having said that, you do have the Commander players who will walk people through, hey, I'm playing this card can combo or go off with all of these other cards. Best watch out for it, blah, blah, blah. I think I put it up on Blue Sky recently, if you see someone umming and erring, you should have the good Commander players be like, okay, I'm actually the threat, here's why. And do an honest threat assessment of the table. Yeah,
I think it was one of those set launch events that we've had a few of recently this year in Melbourne, where I think it was the OTJ one Gramps and I went to, and we were in a pod with two people that I think one of them had basically never played Magic before, and the other one had maybe played a couple of pre-con games. And it was exactly that environment. They were just like, hey, I don't know a lot of what's going on. And we're like, yeah, dude, we will just take the time. We'll walk you through it. These are decks we don't know either, because it was one of those events where they give you a pre-con as part of the ticket price.
Yeah.
And that was exactly that experience of watching them start to connect the dots themselves, put the combos together and going, oh, I think I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always been one of my favorite things about it.
It's so nice, just, again, very welcoming, very, again, just accepting of everybody. And then I like the idea that it's very self-policing.
Yeah.
If someone comes into the pod and is an absolute tosser, they're probably not going to play a lot of games in the future because the pods will all suddenly be full. And
social pressure will just kind of push them out slowly. Yeah.
Or you talk to them and just be like, hey, that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
Or nice.
Yeah, that's that idea of maybe there's a post-game chat that should happen with someone if they're being actively bad.
Yeah, I mean and I guess this comes back to my Commander journey as well. It is a game. I feel like it's definitely a game of growth. Yeah. When I first started playing Commander and I actually got into the game, as I said, I got fed up with having to battle with vocal politics. So I would just create the most miserable blue control decks ever, all the counter spells, and my what was it? My level of fun was directly, inversely proportional to the amount of fun my opponents were having. And that's where I got my kicks. I enjoyed controlling games and just playing stacks and all of that. And then eventually I realized, oh, wait a second, this isn't fun for everybody else.
Yeah.
And then shift in how I build my decks and, make it more about maybe the themes or just how I'm casting cards or like how many counter spells I include in. And it's definitely, if you look back on, if you're not looking back on your past self and cringing, you haven't grown. So
God, I want to put that on a shirt.
I mean, I do that with my videos. Like I look back at my old videos and just be like, oh my God, like I thought this was like good enough to upload.
It's also like, there's this idea within like certain parts of software development where there's this theory of like you do the best you can at the time with the information you have available. Like you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You just making stuff, putting it out there. You're just making decks, doing whatever.
Yeah.
That made sense at the time. But if, to your point, if you're not like then growing from that, what's the point?
What is it? You hit the point where you think you know everything, and then you suddenly hit the valley of
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, then you hit the valley of despair and just be like, oh,
Cool. So, what should people look forward to from the Commander Format panel? If you can even like predict or talk about anything that might be coming soon. Watching the gears turning as you're trying to think of what you're allowed to say.
Get me soon.
So at this point in the video, you can just beep out everything.
You don't have to actually say anything.
No, but, I mean, it comes out as my previous comment. Once something is ready to be announced or to be tested, it will be put out there. And I for one will immediately, as soon as I'm allowed to talk about stuff or ask for feedback, will be reaching out to all of my local groups that I'm in, as well as obviously putting stuff out on YouTube. But as I said, I personally feel the Commander format is in good hands, very good hands, and all of the worries and fears that people have about the game, or like things that they're not enjoying about the game currently, it is being spoken about. It is being discussed, and I feel like, don't worry, it's in good hands.
Okay, good to know. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
No, appreciate having me on.
Give the folks at home your plug of your own stuff, where to find you.
Just Attack on Cardboard on everything, primarily on YouTube, Blue Sky. If you're into Instagram and TikTok, I'm also there as well, just posting content about the rules. If you want to learn layers, come talk to me.
Oh, I do want to learn layers. I've read a couple of blog posts and I'm still confused. All right.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
I genuinely enjoy the man that is Tom, because he's always calm. The cadence is always consistent. The videos are genuinely educational, and you get that vibe. We're not for the new Magic player. That's not us.
I don't think the new Magic player even knows a ban list exists.
Exactly. Well, I didn't know a ban list existed until Braid's Cabal Minion. So,
yeah, true.
Like when I first saw that.
Not the episode.
No, not the episode we just did. But like, that was my introduction to the ban list all the way back when Modern Horizons 2 came out, and I tried to put it into a deck and I couldn't. Same with Golos. In M20. So about 2020 was when I found out there was a ban list for Commander, because I was using precons until then. I hadn't built a deck. So like, we're not for the new player, but Attack on Cardboard is. Like, Cozy Magic Club definitely is. There's people that are out there for the new players, and then we're for that next level of advancement. And something that Tom said before that put me in mind is, I remember really early on, the starter kits had starter on them, and then the booster packs, the single booster packs, had expert on them. They actually had they had levels. Ristic Study's most recent video about 7th edition, you can actually see it. The starter kit with the CD-ROM and stuff says starter.
Hang on. With a CD-ROM?
Yeah, there was a CD-ROM that taught you how to play Magic, including Bears and Lava Axe. But then, the booster packs would have advanced level on it. So it showed you what you were buying into and what level of play you were having. And I think the bracket stuff definitely does fill that space. It's all about the conversation. Our show is about the conversation. Thanks, Tom, for coming on, hanging out. Next time on Commander Nights, we're going to have Gavin Verhey.
I don't know, can we make that happen? We can't afford to fly him in.
No, he'll fight us there.
Ah.
You can afford that, Gavin.
Fuck.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for watching. If you have any thoughts, feelings, opinions, if you want Soul Ring banned, email us.
No, don't email us.
Email us, charactercompliance@gmail.com. We'll get that done. I'll slip him a 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a yellow bill in Australia.
Yeah.
It's a really good note. It's crisp.
It's often called a pineapple.
It's also worth fucking nothing compared to the US economy, so that's where we're at.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, casualcompliance, gmail.com, email us, let us know what you think. TikTok, YouTube,
Yep.
Spotify,
And
Blue Sky.
that's the one.
We have our name on everything now.
Yeah.
Because it's that good. But thanks for watching.
Yeah.
And thank you for having a really good interview. You did well. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You see
First time I've interviewed anyone.
You see how hard it is to keep those conversations
Yeah,
going? It's
dude.
real tough.
Yeah.
Because basically every episode I interview you.
Yeah, but we're talking about cars. We've got that like thing in the middle to point at and talk about.
Yeah, the iPad.
Yeah.
Sick.